views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eileen Newman. I'm the host of Mission BX, which is a collaboration between BronxNet and the Center for Bronx Nonprofits at Hostos Community College. Normally, we take you behind the scenes to look at nonprofits all over the Bronx, but now we're doing this remotely. Today, we're going to be visiting with Jill Roche-Gomez, who is the Executive Director of Hunts Point Alliance for Children, a wonderful organization helping young people and families throughout the Bronx. So stick around and see about the great work they're doing. So we're very happy today to be able to revisit with Jill Roche-Gomez, who had been on actually our first show that we did remotely. I was talking to Jill about some of the things that she's been doing, and I said, you need to come back and you need to tell us about how you managed to go from that first moment of, well, we're looking at what we're going to do, to 6 months later. So Jill, first of all, thank you. We're very excited to have you and to see the work that you've done. So you were here in April and you were deciding what to do at that point. And we just were saying, that seems like a long time ago. And so tell us a little bit about what programs you decided to keep, what programs you changed, how you went from we're figuring it out to figuring it out in a great way that benefited a lot of people, I know.
Good morning, Eileen, and thanks for having me back. It's incredible to think it was 6 months ago that we spoke before. And you said, how did we go from figuring it out to having figured it out? I think very much we are still figuring it out every single day. This really has been an exercise in every decision that we've been making, trying to keep what we at the Hunts Point Alliance for Children think about as our 3 pillars, which is during this time of incredible instability, how do we really make sure that we're keeping the community and our students focused in every decision that we make, but also really thinking about organizational sustainability and our staff's capacity and ability to show up every day and do the amazing work that they do. And so I really want to start there with just a shout out to my staff, and every single member of the Hunts Point Alliance for Children team has been incredible over the last 6 months. And I think that it's really a testament to their commitment to the students and families of our community that I am going to be able to speak with you about the wonderful things that we've been doing. So I just want to say thank you to my team. In April, we were still trying to figure out what was going to happen over the summer. We were wrapping up some of our spring programming, and we are a literacy organization, youth development organization that really centers around creating hope for the future for all children of Hunts Point, and also building out pathways so that those careers and those futures seem possible and that students gain the skills to be able to reach them. And so when we were in the spring, we were still holding on to this hope that we may be able to have some kind of in-person finale to our programs, which unfortunately was not possible. But we were so grateful to our partners at the Public Theater that run the Hunts Point Children Shakespeare Ensemble with us. And they were actually able to film an entire 67-minute video of our students from Hunts Point producing and performing Much Ado About Nothing, centered around 30 plot points that the kids helped pick out of the entire script. It was incredible. Yeah, it was really, truly incredible. The students had to reimagine their characters, so they had to find their own costumes, they had to use the things that were in their homes, and they really had to learn to play off of each other using Zoom. So it was a brilliant production.
So they did it the way we're doing this.
Exactly.
So they never came together, two kids, or they did an entire production like this?
Exactly. So it wasn't all live. It was different edits of the different parts of the speech, and then we put the title cards with the plot points in so that everyone could follow along at home. And the creativity of the students and the staff really reimagined it. I mean, Much Ado About Nothing is a lot about when we talk about what's happening and how different storylines get, misinterpreted. So they posed it in a world of social media. I mean, it's an incredible production, and I encourage everyone to watch it because it shows really the hard work of the students during that time.
So
And
how can people see it?
Sure. So if you go to our website, which is huntspoint.org, under our youth section and the Shakespeare program, it's there and it'll take you right to the YouTube link.
Everybody should watch this, including me, who's going to watch it as soon as we finish.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And, one of the things that's particularly incredible was we have a chorus every year. And the chorus director is actually Melissa Salguero, who's a music teacher, a Grammy Award-winning music teacher at PS 48 in Hunts Point. And she and the composer, Solomon Lerner, were able to work with the students to record their singing individually and then mix all of it together. So you've got this beautiful score as well that was created digitally. It was really an incredible performance. Similarly, our storefront ensemble, which is 7th and 8th graders, they spend the entire year really focusing on writing and telling their own stories and learning about the power of narrative and how to perform it. And the teaching artists for the storefront ensemble as well did an incredible job helping the students story block out what their written work would look like. And they filmed themselves, or they had a family member film them, and then they put together their different stories, and they took turns acting out each other's writing. And so there's also about a 40-minute production called The Quarantine Show, which muses on their reflections and how they felt about the quarantine, and they're truly performing each other's writing. It's really a beautiful testament to both the students and their resilience, and also this documentary of this time where really no one knew what was going to happen next.
Right. That's what's also incredible about it. And that makes me think that we should be looking at ways of putting a lot of this together, because I'm sure there are other organizations who are also doing amazing work with young people.
Absolutely. And I think that there's a lot to be said about the way that all of the organizations in the South Bronx and working with youth really were able to connect with the kids and help them find that continuity and to continue the relationships with caring adults. Right. I know that one of the things that we did with all of our programming was that we had some little check-ins using, like Google surveys as we were waiting for everyone to log in. And what we saw, particularly at the beginning in March and April, was a lot of the students sharing their frustration, some fear, really disappointment around the loss of normal. Mm-hmm. And by the end in May, you still had a lot. I mean, there were a lot of things happening in our country, in our city. There was, and our students in Hunts Point really were experiencing a lot of those difficulties. But you did see a trend in the way that they were responding to the questions of being able to find some normality, routine, and joy. And I think that that's what's really beautiful. And what's important to remember is that all of our students want to find the joy and get back to a routine. And as the caring adults, as youth development professionals, it's really our job to help them illuminate the ways that they can get there and celebrate what's happening, in the same time teaching them the reality of what's happening, including the national call to action and how they can be part of building a better future moving forward.
Right, that was beautiful. That was really a beautiful way of presenting what people don't realize is happening, because I think that that when the organizations came to really say, this is what we're going to do, and this is how the work is going to still have an impact. That's a quiet movement, unless you really know a lot about the organization or have a young person taking advantage of what's offered. People don't know about it, which is why we we here at Mission BX really want, that's the point of this, is to hear from people like you about the kinds of amazing things that are going on. So what did you think about in all of this for you? What was the biggest challenge? And it can be both professional and personal, because I think that all got mixed together and still is.
I think for us, and this in many ways was both professional and personal, was figuring out through April and May and June, and then moving into the deeper summer months, how to really be supportive of our staff, as well as making sure that they had all the tools that they could, as I said before, show up for our community members. And so I think about some of the creativity that came out of their work that's related to the challenges that in terms of direct service they were experiencing. So one of the largest direct service challenges was particularly with our early childhood programming. The transition to online learning was a little bit harder than those in middle school, high school, and college. And I think that one of the things that our team did, which I thought was beautiful, was that they recognized that when they had online events, or when they had online activities that were really hands-on, is when they had the most engagement from the students, and they had the parents be more engaged. And so for the summer, we actually pivoted the work that we usually do, and we created a literacy through science program where we had 22 students, and it was all hands-on experimental work. And the thing about my team, which is incredible, is that they had a budget of $500, which meant that they bought $23 worth of supplies for every family. And with that $23 worth of supplies, they were able to do 4 weeks full of programming. And it was basic things. It was flour, it was Skittles, it was paper and construction paper and glue. But we realized that we wanted everyone to be able to have the same experience and to engage in that way. So the team went around and delivered the bags before program started with all of the materials that they would need. And it was an incredible success. And so that we're going to use that model moving into the fall for both our early childhood 0 to 3 programming and 4 to 8 programming.
And that's a great segue for us to take a little break, because my next question after the break is to ask you what you learned from all this. So I think you've started to answer that. So we just take a break, and then we'll be right back with Jill Roche-Gomez from Hunts Point Alliance for Children.
When taking public transportation, don't touch your phone. Carry hand sanitizer and use it immediately upon leaving the bus or train. Avoid touching your face. If someone is coughing or sneezing, move away. Wash your hands with soap and water as soon as possible. Limit contact with poles. If possible, avoid rush hour. Don't eat or drink on public transportation. Keep your bag off the floor or other surfaces. Avoid directly touching turnstiles. Stay up to date with the latest from your local health department and CDC.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Jill Roche-Gomez from Hunts Point Alliance for Children, hearing how they created wonderful programs in the midst of great difficulty this summer and spring. So Jill, what did you learn in all this? Clearly, what's come through is you learned that your staff is remarkable. I'm sure you knew that before, but even more so now. But what else did you learn through this whole process?
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think that our staff, as I had mentioned before, had done an incredible job. And I think one of the things that we learned was the importance of really being nimble and being able to trust each other in the moment. You know, we're doing so much of our programming through Zoom. And so if we have internet connectivity issues or our program participants have internet connectivity issues, the ability to just jump in and take over from each other and to just say, you know what, this isn't working, let's switch right now, let's try something new. So I think that in many ways, you know, we talk a lot about a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset in youth development work, and the importance of believing that you can continually improve both your practice or your outcomes. I think that the last 6 months has really helped us live that. Secondly, I think that one of the things that we've learned or that have become even more glaringly obvious that we both maybe knew intellectually, but now are seeing on a much more granular level is the way that policy really impacts the way that people are experiencing this moment on the ground. And I think something that I've been thinking about a lot is as we work towards thinking about housing and school and, even digital access or how do we change the policies so that we're not putting the onus on those that are the most vulnerable? So, for example, one of the things that I've been talking about is when we talk about rent relief, we're talking about folks that are going to have to fill out all of the paperwork, take time off of work to go to court, find assistance. But really, in their rent relief, they're paying rent to someone who owns a building who needs to pay a mortgage. And so I've been thinking a lot about what are things that city, state, federal level could possibly do to put the onus on the person that owns the mortgage as opposed to the person that's in the house. And I think that that's the kind of thinking and learning that we really need to come together and continue to push forward, because this pandemic has exposed so many fault lines in our everyday life. And I think that it is an opportunity to really be more thoughtful about how we think about what social justice is and how our work as nonprofits can be elevated.
And I think that makes the work of nonprofits even more important, but also it puts it in a context that hopefully people will now recognize, because I think that that's been an issue for nonprofits, that they've done the work, they're in the trenches, but I think this points out that nonprofit workers, leaders are essential workers because they're helping to impact on the quality of life that people have. And I don't know that it's always defined in that way. So I think this is the time for that.
Absolutely, and we're all within one web. Students don't exist in a youth development silo. Students are children of parents who are essential workers, who are teachers, who are renters. We all really are part of the same ecosystem, and we need to think about how we're taking care of every part of that ecosystem.
Exactly. So I have a very practical question, and that is, did you get funding? Any kind of extra funding for the work you were doing? Two questions, actually. One, did you get funding? And two, did you work with other organizations?
Yeah. So we were very lucky to be a recipient of the COVID-19 response funds through Bloomberg Philanthropies and the New York Community Trust and many other foundations. And that was a really wonderful grant because it enabled us to do three things. One, we were able to extend our 7th and 8th grade programming another month so that we could keep that connectivity with the students during May and June. Secondly, it enabled us to start a new program around tutoring where our college students were coming home and they had lost their work study, they were in the home, many of them, their family members had been laid off, and so they felt like they should be doing more. And through that grant, we were able to hire them to provide online tutoring to elementary students in Hunts Point that were struggling with the transition to online learning. And so that's actually one of the programs that we're most proud of because it really responded to the moment. And then third, the funding also allowed us to provide some additional supports for the transition to online learning. So through our community partnership, we were able to distribute an additional 60 Chromebooks and tablets, as well as 50 hotspots with 3 months of internet connection and some early childhood kits that were analog items as opposed to just fully digital. So that was an incredible grant that we're very grateful for. And the second one is we did receive, in light of the summer youth, which at the time we thought was canceled and then was partially restored, we received a grant through the Hayden Foundation to hire 10 high school students and 2 college students. And the Hunts Point Community Partnership, which is a program run through ACS and supported by HPAC, led that. And so they hired those 10 high school students and they did community beautification projects. So they repainted the gate on a barber shop. They worked in 3 different community gardens. They did a community cleanup day. So it was a really special summer for those youth.
Yeah, this is wonderful. I mean, everything you've described, it makes it seem like Hunts Point Alliance for Children is a huge organization. That's the nonprofit myth, that we can all make things look big when.
That's right. Small but mighty.
Exactly.
But I think that also, it connects to the second part of your question about partnerships. Partnerships is kind of baked into who we are as an organization. They're incredibly important to us. And so, everything that we did with the Shakespeare Ensemble was really in partnership with the Public Theater, and so much of the work that had been happening on the ground, our community partnership, worked so closely with Urban Health Plan and the Family Enrichment Center in Hunts Point around food distributions and really thinking about food insecurity. And there's just been so much partnership in Hunts Point. I think one of the things that I always talk about when I talk about Hunts Point is that we are truly a community. And we are truly a community that not only works together professionally, but the leadership and the staff all know each other. And so it feels like more of a smaller town community. And I think it's an incredibly special place.
Yeah, it is. You're right. So we just have a few more minutes left, but I do want to ask you about the fall and what are the plans. I'm sure that given what you were able to do in the summer, you have lots of plans for the fall.
Well, we're definitely launching all of our programming virtually. So we are committing to running our program curriculum virtually through the end of December until the new year. But we are trying to figure out and monitor the government guidance and the science and the local infection rates. And it's our hope that in the mid to late fall, we'll be able to do some smaller enrichment workshops in person. But we're not, as we've built out the curriculum, we've made it fully virtual. So if that doesn't happen, we won't have to replan. And I think that that's one of the things that we've tried to do, is to make decisions as early as possible, so that even if things change, we're able to change our add-ons instead of our core.
And we don't have enough time to explore this in the way we should, but one of the things that I've been looking at and very concerned about are issues around stress and anxiety on the part of young people. And I just wonder what you're seeing, not so much in terms of the whole family, but in terms of the especially younger children, and where they are at this point after having gone through this for 6 months and having experiences that seemed sort of normal, but they have to be absorbing the stress that's all around them.
Yeah, I think actually that sums it up really well. This is an incredibly stressful time. And I think that as we've been planning our fall programs, we've been trying to build in ways that we can catch flags that maybe individual students need some more an intervention or some more intentional help. But I think as a city, we really need to think about what the overarching plan is to make sure that students are getting the message that they will be supported, and that their families are there for them, and there are people within their communities that are there for them, and that it's okay to reach out for help. Because I think that the stress of the last 6 months and and probably the next school year is going to last a long time. And this is not something I think that we've all learned that is just going to go away. And so I think that we really, as a community and as a city, need to recommit ourselves to the mental health of our youth in a long-term way.
Thank you. It's always great to talk to you, Jill, but today was especially wonderful to be able to look at what you've accomplished in the last 6 months since we talked to you before. So thank you for doing this, and thank you for everything you're doing for the families in the Bronx.
Well, thank you for having us. It's really a joy to share the work. And like I said, it's really the staff. The Huntsville Alliance for Children team is incredible.
I know. And so are you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Eileen.
Cloth face coverings can be fashioned from household items or made at home from common materials at low cost. These coverings can be used as an additional voluntary public health measure. To make your own face mask, gather the following materials: 2 10-by-6-inch rectangles of cotton fabric, 2 6-inch pieces of elastic, a needle and thread, scissors, and if possible, a sewing machine. Ready? Let's begin. Step 1. Cut out 2 10-by-6-inch rectangles of cotton fabric. Step 2. Fold over the long sides a 1/4 inch and hem. Then, fold a double layer of fabric over 1/2 inch along the short sides and stitch down. Step 3. For the ear loops, run a 6-inch length of wide elastic through the wider hem on each side of the mask. Tie the ends tight. If you don't have elastic, use hair ties, elastic headbands, or string. Step 4. Gently pull on the elastic so that the knots are tucked inside the hem. Gather the sides of the mask on the elastic and adjust so that the mask fits your face. Grab your face mask or cloth face coverings before heading out for essential tasks to protect yourselves and others and stop the spread. Visit cdc.gov for more information.
Thanks so much for joining us as we visited with Jill Roche-Gomez from Hunts Point Alliance for Children. If you would like to see the show again or recommend it to friends, or if you missed it, then you can go to bronxnet.tv and look for Mission BX and see what work we've highlighted today. Please join us again when we go to visit another wonderful nonprofit organization here in the Bronx.